We were getting concerned. Sorry.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you all for coming here and showing your support for our community in general and HOA2 golf in particular. We're at the beginning of the end of a 3-year journey that began when some of our previous board members, the golf committee, and the golf staff realized what the reserve study was telling us, and that our 28-year-old Mountain View golf course was in serious need of attention. That led us to today, where we're on the threshold of the largest renovation project of any kind in HOA2 history. Once this renovation is complete, we will have restored Mountain View to the jewel of a golf course that we can all be very proud of. General Manager Walter Yazzie, Director of Golf Matt Hudson, and Golf Course Superintendent Paul Halleck will be explaining their roles and expectations in this renovation and other golf-related items as come up. But first, the Golf Committee would like to speak to our community's responsibility in the golf enterprise. We understand that the community has seen fit to invest in our golf course, the community's golf course, that is, and we as a community have to take responsibility for our golf course. We need to be the stewards of our golf course and the supporters of our golf course. As stewards, we need to maintain and enhance the course conditions wherever possible. Not only doing this ourselves, but making sure that our playing partners do it as well. In the past, many of us have been frustrated with our conditions, and we may have let those frustrations affect our course care. That needs to stop. From now on, we need to fix every ball mark, fill every divot, rake every trap, and drive our carts with care, using the 90-degree rule. And when's the best time to start? Not on October 1st when we have this new golf course to look at, but we need to start right now modeling this, starting with the preserve and our last couple of weeks at Mountain View. Start our ownership right now. We all know that the bunkers are still going to need some work at the preserve, but rake them anyway. Show the public, and that's another excuse we use, is the public comes and we can't do anything about that. If we have a perfect golf course, the public will take better care of our golf courses as well. So we need to, again, fill those divots, fix those ball marks, rake those traps, and drive the course with care. Use that 90-degree rule. Drive out on the cart path to your ball and back. Remember, these are our golf courses. This community has seen fit to renovate Mountain View, so we need to do our part to keep these courses great. But that's enough from me. Let's talk from the people here that you all wanted to hear from. So we're going to have Walter start first. We'll have questions afterwards. Let's get this going. Walter.
Good morning. This is a very exciting time here at Saddlebrook. I'm excited. I'm excited to see this project kick off. And like you heard, it's the biggest project we've done here. At least I've been here 8 years, and this is the biggest project I've ever seen done here. And so really it's going to be all hands on deck to make this project successful. And I'm up here to let you know that the staff, we are fully engaged in making this project successful. And why are we fully engaged? Well, let me tell you, I brought a sign with me today. I don't know if you've seen anything like this before. In a lot of your different publications that we put out, you'll see a little tag. And it says that we as a staff here at Saddlebrook to appreciate you as the residents. So when you see this sign, just remember that our staff, and I'm asking our staff to realize that we appreciate you offering us these jobs here. We appreciate serving you, and we appreciate just the interaction we have with you every day. Now, having said that, with this project going on here, we have several departments heavily involved. First, we have our facilities department. And Ray's sitting down here right now. Our facilities, my assistant general director, my assistant general manager, man, I'm going too fast here. I'm excited. So, but Ray, he's here. With this big of a project, there's always little things that fall off and got to be picked up and, considered. So Ray's here to do that, and he's already got several different little projects to make sure that this thing comes off and looks great when we're done. Food and beverage, and our lifestyle department also is fully engaged. Now you're like, okay, so we're closing down the Mesquite Grill for breakfast and lunch while we're doing this project. So a lot of the golf traffic is going to be up at the preserve. So our lifestyle is going to offer a breakfast buffet up at the preserve from 11 to 3 o'clock on Mondays and Tuesday, because those are usually when the preserve is closed, right? So they're going to offer something up there for you to drink. I think the bar is going to be opened, and then there'll be some other food to go along with that. So starting the 1st of May, they're going to open that up so that when you're up at the preserve Monday and Tuesday, you'll have something to eat. And finally, I want to point out our marketing team. Our marketing team is fully engaged. They've been engaged for a while. You go online, you see the hard hat discussions, and you see different videos, all these different flyers, the groundbreaking flyers. All of this has to be thought out by somebody, and that's our marketing team. And they've been fully engaged and supporting this, and they'll continue to be engaged all the way through to the time we are done with the project. We probably going to have some kind of ribbon cutting at the end and celebrate the end of the project and opening of the Mountain View golf course again. But again, I just want to let you know that the staff is fully engaged. We're excited about the project, and don't forget, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Walter. That's one thing that I've been really impressed in this whole endeavor is how we're all working together, how the staff is working together, the board is working hard for us, the invited crew is working, our golf committee is doing what we can. We're all meshing together, working as a team to get you the best product that we can possibly give you. So next from our invited team, our director of golf, Matt Hudson.
Good morning. Oh, wow, that's great. Thank you. That's better than the Men's Association on Thursdays when I say that. Sorry, Harry. Well, first of all, my name is Matt Hudson. Those of you that don't know me, I'm the Director of Golf Operations, and we're going to talk a little bit about where we are and where we're going. So, Joey, if you'd head to the next slide, please. Yes. Joey, you got that? Beautiful. Perfect. Awesome. All right. So again, we're going to talk a little bit about where we are. So revenue, some outside play groups, and where we're going. So I've got an update on the new golf car fleet that was approved, I believe in December. Well, it was last year. And then what we're going to be doing during the Mountain View closure for operational plans. So let's talk a little bit about where we are. Go ahead, Joey. All right, so let's talk about rounds of golf. So what has the weather been like this winter? It's been brutal, right? Yeah, I heard a lot of groans. That's about right. We are approximately 4,000 rounds down from this point in 2022. So if we did 20,000 rounds in 2022, we're only at 16,000 rounds this year. The bulk of that is weather. I mean, it just is what it is. We've had a significant amount of frost. We had multiple snow events where we had snow events where the preserve didn't even open for the day. In fact, we had 38 total frost delays from January 1st through April 6th. We had 51 at Mountain View. Now, if you think about that, that's about 95 days or so. So at Mountain View, we had over 50% of the days of golf had a frost delay. That's insane. I've never seen that here in Tucson, let alone Arizona in general. Can anybody tell me when our last frost delay was? April 6th. April 6th. When was the last time anybody saw frost on April 6th? It's insane. So moving on, as Walter said, we truly do appreciate everybody. We appreciate everybody coming here today to learn about what's going to happen with golf. But I want to point out a very special group of people. How many annual pass holders do we have in here today? Raise your hand, please. Paul, you count that? No? Okay, thanks. Obviously, we have a lot of annual pass holders here. You guys are extremely invested in the golf operation, and I just want to say from the golf operation, thank you guys for making that financial commitment to our facilities and playing your golf here at HOA 2. We have 343 total annual pass holders in 2023, and I know that chart is a little, well, it's not too bad. I thought it was a little smaller than it is. That is down about 40 annual pass holders from 2022. Actually, I'm sorry, about 60, excuse me. Revenue last year was at $1.427 million from annual pass holders. This year, annual pass holders equate to $1.287 million. It's about $115,000 more than our goal. So going into 2023, knowing that we were going to have Mountain View closed for 5 to 6 months, we definitely expected a little bit of dip in revenue. We did realize that, but it wasn't quite where we thought it was. So we're in pretty good shape to budget with our annual pass holders. Go ahead, Joey. So that moves into punch card sales. So punch card sales, we were a little more aggressive this year just because of the fact that we thought if we did lose some annuals, we would probably gain some punch card sales. Our total budget for punch card sales currently is $450,000 with total revenue of almost $335,000. So we're down about $115,000. However, we pretty much made that up in annual passes, so we're in pretty good shape. Those two should pretty much offset each other. Last year, we finished at $376,000 for annual passes in 2022. The one important thing to understand about this number is that we'll continue to sell these punch cards throughout the year. Probably not so much throughout the summer months because the rates are quite a bit lower. But as we get to October, November, we should see another spike in punch card sales. So we should be in pretty good shape if you combine the two. Mountain View Collegiate. I wanted to bring this up for a very specific purpose, but how many of y'all came out and either volunteered or watched the gals play? That was awesome, right? So Iowa State was our champion. We hosted it March 17th through the 19th. We had 90 players. Iowa State set a NCAA record at 60 under par. There were several other NCAA records that were either tied or broken. That is 100% a testament to how good the golf course is. So that is not, I've heard some rumors. The golf course was set up too easy, this and that. And the other thing, that is 100% untrue. It's because of this gentleman right here and his team had Mountain View in great, great shape this whole winter long. So thank you for that, Paul. There's the other reason I wanted to bring that up is there's always been a rumor, and I think I addressed this maybe last year or the year before, there's always been a rumor that we don't make any money at the Mountain View Collegiate, and that's just not true either. That event just to golf and greens fees is worth over $16,000 over 4 days. There's also food and beverage revenue, there's merchandise sales, there's other ancillary sales that come along with that. So if somebody ever says to you, oh, we don't make any money, blah, 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 100% not true. Our job here is to drive revenue and make sure that we're trying to get to our budget numbers and lower that subsidy as much as possible. We're doing everything we can to make that happen. Other events, throughout the year, we really only have a couple of large events. The Mountain View Collegiate is one of them. We have a the Oro Valley, Larry, American Legion. Thank you. I'm sorry. I had VFW in my head for some reason. I apologize. But it's Oro Valley American Legion. That's a great event. But then we kind of fill throughout the year with a lot of small events. So anywhere from 16 to 40 players and so on and so forth. Fitting days are a big piece of our business as well, of our revenue as well. How many people have bought something at a fitting day? Everybody's getting a new driver, new iron, stuff like that. That's great. Those days are typically worth a little over $100,000 annually. Right now, we're at about $44,000 just for the first part of the year. We'll try and make up some of that we missed out due to some of the poor weather. I know we had Cobra that was rescheduled, I think, 4 times before they ended up being here. Weather was just brutal. I think it snowed on Cobra twice. Can't say that very often in Arizona. Yeah. But we like them, so we'll invite them back. All right. So where we're going, let's talk about golf cars real quick. The golf car delivery date has kind of moved all over the map. Initially, it was first quarter, then it moved to like mid-July, and then it started moving up a little bit. But it looks like at this point, our current estimated delivery date, which is a pretty good date at this point, is late May. So we'll see 76 new club car, gasoline-powered golf cars arrive in late May. We also have some canopies. You've probably seen the golf car storage facility at Mountain View. It's got some I-beams that are sticking up above the facility there. That is in process. I know Ray, I think they're waiting on some permitting, some final permitting still for some other parts of the process. So we've got finished up the canopies, and then the electrical is still in process. So we're working on that. Next, Joey. All right, so what are we going to do with the preserve this summer? So basically, we had to figure out what is the best option for everyone, right? So again, I go back to our job is to make sure we drive revenue as well, right? So we sat down and kind of put our thinking caps on, and we're going to do double T starts. So we're going to start at number 1 and number 10 every day at 7 a.m. from May 1st moving forward, with the exception of one day, okay? Thursdays, we're still going to do the shotgun for the men's association, and I'll talk about why not for the ladies in a second. But we're also going to combine as many residents as we can into that shotgun. That is by far in the summer, that is still by far the day that we have the most players. Okay? So the reason why we don't shotgun for the ladies on Tuesdays and we'll stay with double T's and tee times is because we have the 18-hole ladies and the 9-hole ladies that all want to play at the same time, right? So we stick with double T's, 9ers on one 9, 18-holers on the other 9, okay? Because if the lady 9ers were in a shotgun, if you started on 8 in a full shotgun, you would go 8, 9, 10, so you would cross over between 9s, okay? So that's why we had to stay away from shotgun for the ladies on Tuesdays. But those double T's are going to give us the best opportunity for Paul and his team to get the golf course prepared and stay in good shape for the summer, because they still have to maintain that. They still have to maintain Mountain View to some extent. So they can't just take all their guys from Mountain View and move them to Preserve, I guess is what I'm saying. And then it also gives us the opportunity to get the golf course back earlier so that we can try to drive some more revenue late morning into the early afternoon. The only other thing we have going this summer, we do have an aerification closure that's scheduled. Paul will talk a little bit more about that, but I'll give you some dates. July 10th through July 30th, we still have to maintain Preserve just like we have in the past, and he needs that time in order to make sure that the golf course is moving forward rather than going backwards from a condition standpoint. We will keep the range open, so we will have golf shop will be open throughout the days. We will also have the range open except for a couple of days throughout that closure where Paul and his team will need to do some work on that range tee and the range floor. So because of that closure, there will be no golf at that time. We're going to do everything we can to try and partner with some other local facilities so that we can send some folks out to play golf at as low a price as possible. Obviously, we can't control those other facilities, but we'll work with those other places and get you guys going. So for annual pass holders, it's a great opportunity to use that the X-Life golf benefit. You know, if you're going to go up to Phoenix, there's facilities in Phoenix. There's a couple facilities here in Tucson that are available as well. So if you're interested in that and you're not a member of that, let me know. Be happy to help you with that. And at this point, I think that's enough for me. I'm going to turn you over to the star of the show. He doesn't look excited about that, does he? But yeah, do you mind, Lee? If I just is that okay if I just introduce? Good. Paul Halleck, our director of agronomy.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Glad that everyone showed up. A nice attendance we got going on here, huh? Attach golf to anything and the room gets full. Here we go. Joey, next slide, please. All right, I like to put these slides up every year when I talk about anything because the two pictures on the left represent 2018 and kind of what we inherited. And the two pictures on the right are what we have now currently at the preserve, right? So left, it's preserve 1 on the top, preserve 18 on the bottom, right? 1 on the top, 18 on the bottom. The USGA agronomist, thank you. When the USGA agronomist visited, I think he might have said it might have been the greatest 1-year turnaround he had ever seen. And that was when those pictures were about 1 year spaced apart. So that just shows you where we were, where we're going, and where we want to continue to go, correct? And that's what all of our plans are based on. Next slide, please. So these are my talking points. I got the project at Mountain View. I'm going to talk a little bit about aerification. And I just want to talk some about our water usage and what we see with that moving forward. Next slide. So the 2023 Mountain View project, it's comprehensive, right? It's $5.7 million as it sits, give or take. We have a golf course architect. His name is Mike Gogol. He did the master plans also for both golf courses. We have an irrigation consultant. That's Marvin Mills. He's a professional. He does this for his living, so his designs are solid. He comes with great recommendations, as does Gogol. And the contractor for the complete project that we chose was Desert Reflections. So some of the stuff in the project, I could talk about it probably for 8 hours, so I won't bore you with all the bits and pieces. I'm going to hit these bullets and move on. We're getting a new Rainbird irrigation system. It will include state-of-the-art central control system and weather stations, 2 weather stations. One will be at the 6th bathroom location, somewhere around there, and the other one will be at the 13th bathroom location. With that state-of-the-art irrigation system, everything's new. So all new pipes, all new sprinklers, all new valves. The only 2 things we're not putting in new is the pump stations because they are new. We got those in 2019 and 20, if I remember correctly. So those are already new. We're going to work on drainage. We're going to do repairs and improvements. This includes the bunkers. It includes all those wet areas that are in front of our greens with the false fronts that everyone hits the ball and it plugs, right? When we're too wet, we're going to work on all those. We're getting brand new tees, totally redesigned, reshaped, repositioned with a new variety of Bermuda grass called Tiff Tuff. When I say repositioned, envision just standing on hole 13 is a really good one. One of those tees, if you lined up with the way the tee points, you're going to shoot it up Saddlebrook Boulevard, right? That's not where we want you to aim. So they are going to be repositioned for the expected travel of the ball. I can't control everyone's flight pattern, but I'm going to try to help. We're going to do new bunkers, also totally redesigned. Just take all the bunkers we have and just block them out because they're all going to be reshaped, probably positioned a little different. They're going to have drainage. They're going to have new white sand. We're going to go from 70,000 square feet of bunkers to an estimated 45,000 square feet of bunkers. We're going to go from 41 to 40, so not a huge reduction in the actual number, but a huge reduction in the size. We're going to do some turf reductions. That'll probably be an estimated 7 to 8 acres overall. And the turf reductions isn't, so envision the stuff that's really out of play between 1 and 2 on Mountain View, that whole area that we water and mow consistently. That'll be a turf reduction. Envision off of number 2 where the cart path goes around that gumdrop to the right of that fairway bunker. That'll be turf reduction. It's not going to be in the middle of a fairway. It won't be, anything that's really in play. Once again, I can't control the flight pattern of everybody. And for me, some of those areas might be in play, the way I shoot. We're going to do a new cart path. We already started that. It's going from 9 green to the putting green area. It's going to improve the traffic flow, get everyone out of the parking lot, and it's going to increase the overall cart parking down in the Mesquite and the putting green region. Okay. We're going to have a new nursery area facade at the north end of the driving range. It's actually the northwest end. Right now, everyone knows this, but when we start sodding, and I need a lot of sod, we pretty much steal the chip and green sod for greens and that whole tee. I think I've recycled that tee 3 times since I've been here. All right, so we're going to have a nursery that we don't have to steal sod from our actual amenities. The nursery will be the amenity where we can get patch sod from. We're going to soften the 15th green to achieve a more playable surface overall. More playable, more puttable. Just one point of note, we're not rebuilding the 15th green, we're softening, right? So it's still going to have the same footprint. It's going to look basically the same as it is. We're going to peel the sod off. We're going to regrade the green to get more cuppable area for putting, and then we're going to resprig. So at the end of the day, it's going to look very similar, except that it should be a lot more puttable. Next slide. So this is a little artist rendering, Paul Halleck rendering of where the cart path is going to come from 9 and kind of go through the putting green. That was a conceptual putting green. Our putting green's still going to look the same, so don't get all jazzed up about the putting green looking like that. But I just wanted to reflect what we're going to do over there and how we're going to get way more parking. We're going to remove that island, that pinch point when we have tournaments and events and everyone can't get around over there. That's all going to be gone, and we're going to have a better flow with more parking. Next slide. Top one's the north end of the range. That's where that nursery is going to be, 5,000 square feet, give or take. We've already cleared that for a storage facility. There's a lot of sand up there already, some pipe still. Bottom picture is of the directional boring that we've already completed. So we've already got going on the project. There were 7 directional bore that had to go under the road for our main line and sleeves for wiring. Those are all completed, and that machine did that right there. Next slide. Top one is the directional boring machine in action. That's how they get it across. That slender drill bit, you can see what they do is they drill across and underneath. They come back with a bigger bit, make the hole larger sized. Then they connect. They go back again to the other side, they connect the pipe to it, and they pull it right back under the road. So you never even see this stuff going on. It's very similar to everyone who's experienced the Comcast stuff and how they directional board everywhere. It's very similar to that. My pipe is just up to 10 inches, right, in size. So the 2 pictures on the bottom of the HDPE process, that's the pipe that went under the road. The machine on the left is where they actually fuse the pipe together. You can call it welding, you can call it fusing. And on the right, it's just a close-up. There's an actual blade there. They mate both ends of the pipe with that blade. They put it in that rig. They have a heat plate that they heat up to a certain degree. It goes in between the 2 pieces of pipe. The machine presses them together. And they wait the specific amount of time for the pipe size, and they pull it out, and it's mated as one pipe. It's actually stronger than any piece of that pipe on its own, they tell me. So the unions are very strong, and what it gives us at the end of the day is there's an expected leak percentage on regular PVC. It's probably like 5%. So when you put new PVC in the ground, in this size project, there's a 5% leak rate already, right out the gate. This HDPE is supposed to be 100% tight right out of the gate. Next slide, please. So on the top left is the cart path on 9, the new cart path looking back towards the green. Bottom right is when we do this, we always have trouble, right? So the bottom right reflects a little trouble. That's an existing irrigation main line currently on Mountain View. And why I show that is we had to make a repair because in the directional boring, we went right through it. Right? And so this is part of the game. It's all in the contract. Whatever they disturb in this process, we have to put back together, so we always have water. So it was expected. We had 2 of these out of the 7, so not bad. We did okay. Next slide. These are a couple concepts of irrigation from Mr. Mills. The top just reflects how he does his work. He takes, so that's 17. 17 you see has 3 bunkers now on it. He takes what Mr. Gogol did for a design, and then he puts his irrigation to that design. And that's what you end up with up on the left. Bottom right is one of those weather station positionings that I told you about near the bathroom on 13. It's that little blue square over there. Next slide. So if anyone's really got into the website and looked at the documents that I've placed on there, you can get all these documents and really get into it and look at it. I just printed one off for a slide to show you how in-depth some of this stuff is, but this is all from Mr. Gogol. It's all professionally designed. He's got everything laid out. There's overlays for all the different parts of the project. Just remember, documents are great, but sometimes the as-built are going to be a little different, right? So these are what we're shooting for. When we get in the field, there's always minor adjustments. Next slide, please. Here's some more of it. Number 6 shows TEs. It shows what the new bunkers are. There's 3 bunkers there in different configuration than the bunkers that are there now, and some of that. Next slide, please. So I got some before and afters here, and these are conceptual, but that's number 4 up on the top right. That's the before, the little bunker there. The T's are above on that rock wall with, you know, they're continuous. They're not all separated. And after, we're going to look something like that. The rock wall might be gone. It might be leveled. The T's will be individual, like most of the holes we have here where the T's are individual. You can see the bigger bunker we're going to put on the right. Now remember, that's just conceptual. It could be a little bit bigger than that. It could be a little bit smaller. It could be shaped a little different, but this is the concept we're going for right now. Next slide, please. So this is another good one. This is 15. And you can see what we're doing before. We had the bunker fairway. It was kind of in one spot on the left. Green side bunker is huge up on the right. Green side bunker is going to get smaller. Fairway bunker gets pulled back to where it's more in play for today's standards, and shaped differently. And you can notice, like, we got a concept up on the green. You can barely see it. I can point it out and see it, but we got a low mow area around that bunker now with an entry point up to that green. So it's going to look a little different. Next slide, please. So this is some of the press that we've picked up along the way. And Mr. Hudson knows a little bit more about this stuff than I. But if you want to give a quick thing, go.
Yeah, it's just an example of what the Invited marketing team has been able to help us with. Club Resort Business is probably the most well-known publication that we've been picked up by. We've been picked up by a few other websites and so on and so forth. So the marketing team from Invited, excuse me, I can't get the words out of my mouth. The marketing team from Invited has been really helpful in getting the word out and hopefully getting people, whether they be here in Tucson, in the community, outside of Arizona, across the country, excited about what's going to be happening here at Mountain View. So there's been some really good press that's been picked up.
Next slide, please. So Matt touched a little bit on the aerification. We're going to step into that now. Mountain View will be done while it's closed. So I'm going to peck my way around Mountain View for the 160 days, give or take, it's closed, and we'll do all the extra work we need to do at that time. But at Preserve, unfortunately, we're going to have to be closed. We got to keep pushing ahead with our programs and strategies. It's gotten us to where we are now. It doesn't make any sense to me to spend 5.7 mil on one golf course and maybe let the other one slide. So we're going to keep on keeping on here. It's tremendously labor intensive, right? And so to me, the 3-week closure at each golf course, and not Mountain View this year, but at each golf course is a yearly necessity. It sets the table for the other 49 weeks of the year, right? So everything we do during aerification is to get us through the other 49 weeks of the year. And, you know, we have an overseas closure also. But that's what this process does for us. It allows us to do all the work as needed in the most efficient and uninterrupted manner possible. We've tried some of this stuff in play, highly unsuccessful at times, right? So this is the best way to get all this done in the most efficient manner that we possibly can. There are other tasks, necessities that happen at the same time as we're going with the aerification. And it's not limited to some of these, but the fairway top dressing program is a huge one. That's impossible to do during play. That machine goes so slow. To get to that 50 tons of sand per acre per year goal, if you take number 3 on preserve as an example, that guy rides that fairway probably for 6 hours every time he top dresses it. That's how long it takes to top dress usually that one fairway. Because we can only dump the sand in so many spots. So he has to fill up with sand, top dress, go back to a central location for sand, top dress. It's back and forth. It's like ants marching, right? If you ever seen ants carrying stuff, that's what we look like during aerification. Sodding, we do yearly maintenance sod in damaged areas from the winter. That's nice to do when closed because a lot of it is usually around the greens. We do tree work. We do car path repair. Not so much car path repair at the preserve, but we remove and replace the damaged areas as needed. We edge all the car paths, we edge all the bunkers, we push sand around so that we have as much of the sand that we have left. I use sand loosely right now for the stuff we have in our bunkers, but we'll call it sand. We paint and edge all yardage plaques, curbs, stuff like that, all the little housekeeping stuff. We do all the hazard work for stakes and lines, adjusted and painted. At Preserve, we'll do a full irrigation audit and repair. So I technically am the guy who goes through the audit. I run every sprinkler head, watch it, and I make a list. And we get to work on the ones that aren't performing to some type of standard. Now, if anyone knows anything about golf course irrigation, we probably have 2,000 sprinkler heads on the Preserve alone. So that takes a while to go through that audit. Next slide, please. These are just some pictures of the processes. Top right's how we aerify the greens conventionally. Middle is the fairway top dress program. And the bottom right is the deep tine we do on greens. That deep tine goes roughly 9 to 10 inches into the ground. It helps tremendously with getting oxygen down, compaction issues, root growth, water movement. It does all of that and then some. The top on the conventional, we do that roughly 2 times in the 3 weeks on greens. The deep tine, we also do 2 times during that 3-week closure, so you get 4 aerifications on greens. We also verticut. We probably verticut the greens at least 12 times during this process. We sand at least once heavy, maybe twice. The second time, not so heavy. So it's tremendously labor intensive, but it gets us to the product that we got, right? Next slide, please. I'll talk about water usage for a little. Numbers on the left represent gallons. So that top is 180 million gallons, right? So it goes from 0 to 180 million gallons. Not to bore everyone with this, but if you look where we were at 2018, I track all these numbers. I pay all the water bills. I get the spreadsheets from the water department every month. These are all tried and true numbers. If you look at 2018, we were somewhere between 120 to 140 on both golf courses. 2019, we came down a little. 2020, we had that huge drought year, if anyone remembers that. Really, really hot and dry. So we had a spike in the water usage. 2021, back more to normal. And last year, we were graced with a nice monsoon season, right, if everyone remembers that. So the reason I show this is everything we're doing goes to this. So it's not just Paul waters less. Paul can water less because of all the programs that we put in place. Aerification is one of them. Just checking and auditing the irrigation system is another one of them, right? So all that leads us to this. which is being a much, much better steward of the environment in 2022 than it looks like we may have been in 2018. And I'm not blaming that on anyone. I'm just saying we can do better, right? Anyone know about water, right? They're not handing it out. It's not becoming more prevalent. It's becoming less prevalent for us. So anything we can do to get better at this is where we want to go. I'm hopeful 2023 we go down the hill some more. We're going to have bumps in the road like 2020, but overall we're really on a good track on water usage overall. Next slide, please. Some of the stuff we're doing with water usage, like I said, the chart represented total water usage in gallons at each golf course. We've trended towards being more efficient every year, except the bad drought year. This little guy in the picture on the right, he's called the Pogo Turf Pro Plus. It's a GPS-enabled moisture meter that gives us accurate moisture readings on our greens. It quantifies the decision-making process on applying water to the greens only as needed for turf health. So I'm not an only green type guy, right? Green is nice for golf, but it doesn't always mean healthy. We're watering for health. Sometimes health is brown. Sometimes health is not super dark green. It's a lime green. But this guy here, we go across the green. You do 15 data points on each green. You walk it in a grid. And it spits out that little chart on the left to my cell phone instantaneously. So the minute that one green was done on April 4th, I get that on my cell phone. I get it on my computer. I get it on my iPad, whatever I'm using. And it tells me, one green was 23.5% moisture. We're optimal. We're not going to water that green that night. The great thing about the chart, if you look underneath with the little grid and the diagram of the green, it helps really accurately pinpoint the deficiencies. So 31.6, I'm going to tell you, is too wet. The green section is that optimal. But you see that little guy, the 15.4, and he's red? That's too low. What that does for us is I can take that and I can tell my guys in the afternoon, we have to water that spot with a hose, right? So we're not turning on 5, 6 sprinklers on every green to water that spot. I'm getting a guy out there with a hose, and he's watering that spot. Way more efficient. And so this tool, we started with it at Mountain View last year. Had great success. I got another one at Preserve. We just got going with it this month, pretty much at Preserve. But we're 100% launched with this tool, and it's going to help us quantify our decision-making process on watering greens for the future. Next slide. So to wrap it up, 2023 is a huge year, right? I said big, I think it's huge. I don't have to explain that to everyone. The commitment that we're putting forward towards Mountain View and the golf enterprise is gigantic for the whole HOA. It's not just golf, it's for everyone that resides in the HOA. The conditions and playability have improved every year at both golf courses. We're on a good trajectory, and we just got to keep pushing through and keep that going. There's going to always be hiccups on the way. We have some self-inflicted gunshot wounds every now and then. We try to stay away from those. Programs and strategies that have been initiated are showing results. I think everyone who's paying attention can say we're showing results from pretty much all the programs and strategies we put in place. New technologies, which include the new irrigation system, weather stations, pump stations, the Pogo Turf Pro. We're getting GPS-enabled sprayers. They're on order. The commitment to the equipment fleet and keeping it current through the reserve study. They've all impacted the operation of the golf course in a positive manner. And when we can impact the operation of the golf course in a positive manner, guess what everyone in the room likes and enjoys? It's much more playable and better conditions, right? So this is why I do everything. It's not because I don't want to poke a bunch of holes in the greens because I just like to. Right? I'm trying to make this place as playable and as enjoyable as possible. Sometimes we stumble and bumble. We all do this in life. But this is the goal moving forward. And with that, I don't think there's a next slide. Oh yeah, we got one more. The groundbreaking ceremony. Please, everyone, attend the groundbreaking ceremony. It's Monday, May 1st, 10 a.m. It's near the putting green at Mountain View. We're going to have some dignitaries with nice white helmets with a logo. We've got 9 gold painted shovels that I got in my garage I'm working on. Right, we're going to have, I think we're going to have cake and punch, right? Punch. Come on. Please attend. We want to have as many people here as possible. This means a lot, right? This is, like I said, I speak kind of in the same monotone all the time unless I get really excited and angry. But this is huge. This whole thing for this golf course is huge. So with that, I'm sure that's my last slide. And I just want to say everyone thanks for not throwing darts at me.
I think this is so interesting that we get to hear what these guys do, you know. We just go out and play the golf courses, but they're out there thinking for us and working for us. The board is supporting them, and the community as a whole is supporting them. When Matt gave that slide about the number of annuals that renewed, the first survey we did, 50% of the people said they weren't going to renew. We were only going to have 50% renewal. What did we have, 80-ish? % or something like that. We as a community stepped up too, and I think that's just great. So really appreciate all three of these guys and what they do for us in our community. Let's give them one more round of applause, please. I think they did such a good job there can't be a single question. Now is the time for questions. So if you'd like to line up, one question per person, please. If you have a second question, just move to the back of the line. We'll answer them as best we can. Appreciate it.
Come to the microphone if you would, please.
Microphone's up front here. Maybe you did do that good a job.
Here comes one. So name, unit, and lot number.
Name, unit, lot, please.
Oh, Christ. Ray Rosenbauer, Unit 31. Yeah, a lot somewhere. It's 46 or something like that. I don't know.
Thanks, Ray.
Paul, will the preserve be overseeded this year in 23?
It will be overseeded.
And do you have the dates?
We have so yes, it will be overseeded, and we have a tentative date, but it's going to depend on the Mountain View project, right? So we don't want to have both closed again the second time this year, so we're trying to do some tightrope walking and get it all done and squeezed in. So we have a conceptual date. I don't think we're ready to launch that date yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Jeff Cashmore, Unit 46, Lot 17-ish, something like that. I'm an annual member. Now that the frost has done its job, is there a possibility we could have a rock picking party and preserve in the sand traps? I would volunteer. Or is that not worth it?
To be honest with you, we could pick all day, and we pick the big ones, but they come back up because the bunkers aren't lined. So the fruits of the labor are not going to be there, right? So I could get everyone in this room, if you want to help me, let's go, but we're going to have to go again probably in a couple weeks, and you're not going to be happy with that when I keep asking for help.
Same as last time. On the weather station, do you know if that's going to be accessible through Wonderground?
It'll be accessible to the HOA employees, and that's it. It'll be for ours.
It won't be out on Weatherground?
No.
Okay.
We have, I think there's 36, give or take, ones on Weather Underground that I monitor daily.
Yeah, they're all over both.
So my two are going to be more focused on ET rates and stuff like that so we can water more efficiently.
Okay.
Mark Gingrich, Unit 32, Lot 75. I don't want to start on a negative question, so I'm going to compliment all the improvements we've observed over the last 4 or 5 years. It's obvious, we see it, but in keeping with continuous improvement, the mentality of a golfer, We always want something more, right? My question is, at the preserve, my biggest disappointment probably coming back after the 3-week closure was the collars of the greens. And it, to the naked eye and the uninformed, looks like in places there's just nothing there. So I guess my question is, what's our plan?
Yeah, so that was part of the non-overseed strategy, right, to try to make those the best we could. Those areas are getting smaller, but they're not perfect. I wouldn't sit up here and tell you that anything is perfect by any stretch of the means. So the plan is we're going to start sodding as soon as we can. Sod farms are just getting going, but it's part of our maintenance sod. And every year we budget for sod. And every year, I hate to sit up here and tell you this, but it's probably going to be a good percentage of the same spots that we sod, just because it's not the grass that's the problem, it's everything else that goes with the grass, the soil, shade, the shape, all that stuff. So I hear you, I understand what you're saying. If we can gain 10% a year, then we're getting somewhere. So if next year I only have to sod 90% of a spot instead of 100%, we definitely made some gains.
My name is San Vriends. I live at Unit 25, Unit 25, lot, I think, 81. But the question is, over the last years, also because of the storm, many trees have disappeared on the golf course. I mean, it really looks like a desert now, okay? But are there any plans to replace the trees? And maybe you could develop some kind of an adopt a tree program that people can buy a tree or contribute to a tree, because it's really bare now. Thank you.
So to the trees, I'm in the game of growing grass, and trees and grass just don't get along, right? So our strategy is trees in the right place. I agree with you, but trees in the wrong place that are giving us troubles with some of these spots we continually sod, some dry areas, competition, bad playability spots. Those trees will probably be removed, as you've seen, as we keep going. We have millions of trees here. So to say if I take one tree down, I got to put another one in, I'm not sure that's the right path we want to go also. But I will tell you that when we close Mountain View, every tree that comes down will be decided on by playability, design, and conditions, right? So we're not just going to go out with a chainsaw and start whacking everything. If the golf course architect can explain to me why a tree is there for a design element or some type of playability, then I'm okay with those trees. But if it's just killing grass and making us to do more work in the long run, I'm here to make the golf course as playable on the ground with grass as possible.
My name is Sandy Strack, and I'm with the Mountain View Lady Putters. And our concern is with the golf cart path coming down now between the Mesquite Grill and the putting green. How is that going to affect the safety of our membership? We've been averaging between 50 and 88 putters since the beginning of February. So after we meet up on near the grill, we all walk down to the putting green. And then when we finish, of course, we have to walk back. So we're just concerned about the safety. Are we going to slow those carts coming down that path, and how to protect our membership?
That's a good question, Sandy. So Paul and I have had some discussions about that, and we need to formulate a plan, right? We're not sure if speed bumps are correct or signage is correct or something, but along those lines of your concern is it's right there in the front of our heads. So we by no means want anyone to get hurt. We want everybody to come here and enjoy themselves and then go home in the same manner that they arrived. So I can't tell you exactly what the answer is right now, Sandy, but as I said, Paul and I have discussed, and we're trying to figure out the best way to accomplish that so that no one is in a dangerous position, for sure.
Thanks, I appreciate that, because a lot of our members are former golfers who can't be out there anymore, and they're slow walkers to get down there.
Totally get it. Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mike Zedek, Lot 113, Unit 48. I think this is wonderful what you guys are doing. I totally support you. I was wondering if you had an estimate of the actual cost per homeowner for all these improvements.
$5.7 million divided by 3,517. As $2,000, says somebody from the board. But, there's no assessment or anything here.
Okay.
It's what I'm...
Hi there. Great job, you guys. I'm just wondering, what is the life expectancy of the new carts, and what are we doing with the old ones?
So the old golf carts are they're being traded in to offset some of the cost of the new golf cars. Life expectancy, gasoline is, lithium ion is, we don't know exactly. If we were to do lithium ion, it could be 5 years, could be 7 years, could be 10 years. Still a little bit there to figure out because it's in the early stages of its life cycle. Gasoline golf cars, I would venture 7 to 10 years, to be honest with you. Probably closer to 10. With routine maintenance, regular maintenance, blah, blah, blah.
Hi, Joe Helms, Unit 31, Lot 56. When we put in the greens at Mountain View, I understood that the grass was not to be overseeded. They would go dormant. And this year, you overseeded the greens. So my question is that a long-term plan to continue to overseed the greens, or are you going to let them go dormant? And if you continue to overseed them, will we hit that issue of the damage that continuous overseeding causes?
Good question. So we're in a situational type management situation, right? So preserve, we overseed every year, and the greens get to a certain level that most people are happy with, but the Mountain View greens were not at that level every year, right? So we get the back and forth of golfers on one, not happy with the play on the other. So we had an opportunity this year, being closed 6 months, to give it a shot. There is no hard, fast rule on overseeding of mini Verde. If you read the actual website from the people who came up with mini Verde, you're supposed to be so many miles within the Gulf of Mexico to not overseed. We're not within those miles. We're pushing the limits of not overseeding it. So I think the strategy is to situationally, like, it doesn't matter to me 100% if it's good for someone else. If it works for us and we're making golf better for everyone, then that's what I want to do, right? And so that's why we try it this year. Too early to tell you how things went, except I know the greens were good this winter, right? We know
they were
that.
Outstanding.
I can't tell you exactly what the transition is going to look like. I'm encouraged so far that it's not going to be anything out of the normal realm of transition. So we'll have to think about that strategy moving forward. You're not going to get me to commit one way or the other,
no.
right this second?
Just wondered.
But I think the goal was to get the greens more consistent from course to course. I think we achieved that this year better than any year that Matt and I have been here. And so if that's our goal, then we probably will overseed in the future. If the goal is too lofty because we have too much damage from transition, then we may have to adjust that. But I think we're open, right? We're just up here. Him and I talk all the time. We're up here to do the best for everyone in this room, right? It's not about what Paul wants. It's not about what Matt wants. It's what's best for the golfers and playability and the homeowners, and that's all we're trying to do.
Thank you.
I think Iowa State liked those greens a little bit too.
Funny story. Quick. So Iowa State was on the same plane going back to Iowa as my daughter. She goes to Drake University in Des Moines, and she said they were in the back of the plane just having a grand old time. And I told her to go back and say, hey, my dad was the guy that got that golf course prepared for this. She wouldn't bite on that.
Don Sanders, Unit 48, Lot 32. With regards to the turf reduction area, could you more clarify what that's going to look like? Will it be plantings? What does it revert back to? And will it be playable? So I guess just trying to understand what the picture looks like, because I think we have, 30% turf reduction, is that correct?
It's going to be about 7 to 8 acres overall.
Okay.
And so we're about 90 acres at MV right now as the crow flies, so it's more like less than 10%. But it's probably going to be 7 to 8 acres. So what it represents the areas like I talked about a little. It's all what I would call on the fringes. It's nothing dramatically in play. And we're not just going to strip the sod out. We are going to strip the sod out, but there's going to be a replacement plan, right? So some desert plants that the architect has chosen for those specific regions. We'll irrigate that enough just to get those plants going, and then it'll be more natural. It probably won't be exactly like the desert, but it's going to be more like a DG type, desert landscape area, correct? But it won't be like, I can't tell you no one's going to get in it if they hit a bad shot, but the areas that I represent are pretty accurate, between 1 and 2, to the right of 2. There's a huge section to the left of 12 that no one ever seen before until I cleaned out that avenue off the tee, right? There's a huge section of turf over there we're just wasting time, effort, and resources on. So those are the areas we picked off to help, because not only are we trying to save water, but the government's going to make us save water. They're employing some stricter guidelines coming up here soon, and they're going to tell me how many acre-feet of water I have per year. They're not going to tell me how to use it, but they're going to tell me how much I can use. And so we're going to, strategically, we might have to manage that one day.
Hello, my name is John Mahold. I'm part of the resident mowing team. I am in Unit 48, I think it's lot 165. I just want to verify that the rock picking, great idea. If you're in there doing it, it would be helpful to put the rocks by the side of the sand, of the traps. We do pick them up. I have gone through there and spent, when we get done with our first jobs, I've gone out there and spent time doing it. I want to verify, they just keep bubbling up. They really do. So please put them by the side of the bunker, but not outside. That is so tough on the mowing blades. And then you get more and more troubles on the maintenance issue. Another thing, I don't think it was brought up, but one of the things we do to try and save the collars that was brought up as an issue is that we use the T-mowers on the par 3s right now, just because they're a lighter piece of equipment, so that we have less damage to the collars. It's really tough when you get to because I mow the fairways, I mow the roughs, greens. It's really tough when you get to those high traffic areas, because everything's converging, all the equipment's converging there. So there has been some thought, there has been some strategy to lighten the load, lighten the wear in those areas. And I golf, so thank you for paying my wages. But we care about those things, and those are just some of the things that we're doing. So it is kind of, and we'd also, I think one of the things that I try and pay attention to is on the golf cart pathways, just the growth that encroaches the cart paths. We just try and make sure that they're not scratching your carts. It gets pretty tight in some of those areas. That's what I got. Thanks.
Paul, the couple slides you had in there had part of the plan. You said that was on the website. Is that on SBHOA2's website? How do we get to it?
Yeah, so if you go under the golf tab, there's another tab. Now don't quote me on what it says, but it either says Mountain View Renovation Project or something to that effect. There's a couple documents there that you can actively click on, and it opens other documents. So that's where it's located.
Hi, John Lauder, Unit 49, Lot 173. After this is all over, what's the process and the timeline for all the GPS golf range finders to be updated with the new conditions at Mountain View?
That's a great question. So, we can reach out to those folks. Some of them will pick it up via like the the press releases and whatnot. A lot of them do it kind of on their own using like Google Earth. But unfortunately, I mean, we don't control that, right? So if there's a specific one that you'd like us to reach out to, I'd be happy to do that and let them know that something's coming. I know the Arizona Golf Association will need to re-rate the golf course. And I spoke to them, I want to say 6 months to a year ago when we were getting ready for this. And we'll need to have that re-rated once we complete the project as well. So there's a few of those things that need to get done. But like I said, if there's one company in particular that you'd like me to reach out to, I'd be happy to. Just let me know.
Okay.
Jim Grosjean, Unit 47, Lot 122. Could you tell us anything about the impact that Invited has had in the planning, cost-saving measures, et cetera, with this project?
Yeah, so this project was actually before they were even with us. So to be perfectly honest with you, I don't want to say they haven't had an impact because they've had some input and helped guide us in a couple of areas. But at the end of the day, this project preceded the Invited team, except for me and Paul.
Was there any help with the cost savings in, this finding the sand and the equipment or anything like that?
I think.
So there is some cost savings for the equipment. Sand's a commodity. It's pretty much priced the same for everyone. For our fairway top dressing program, we partner up with HOA1, so we have a bigger order, and we get the best price possible on that because it's coming to the same place, technically. And there is a savings on equipment. There's a little bit of savings reflected from Invited on some of the control products, whether it be fertilizer, Roundup, stuff like that. So there's a little bit there. But Matt's right. The contract was already signed for this project, and all that was bid and spec before Invited was involved. So that all has gone on the way it was before Invited was involved.
I don't know if I can reach this thing. Yeah, I need a stool. My name's Tom Pride, and I'm in Unit 17, Lot 155. I've been here a long time. My question is markers on the course. Are they going to have distance markers, or does everybody need a range finder nowadays? The markers won't help me with my game, but it may help other people. You've only got the 200 and 150 markers, and that's it.
So right now, there's markers in the fairway for up to 250 on par 5s. There's markers on the edge of the cart path on Mountain View, 100, 150, and I think 200 on the edge of the path, all of Mountain View. On Preserve, we moved away from those markers on the edge of the path, and we put those little triangle-type diamond plates in the middle of the cart path, so those are all there for the same distances, up to 250 on the par 5s. So that's the plan. I can't tell you they'll look the same when we come out the other side, because everything's probably going to be polished and new. But right now, that's the only plan I have to go back with the same ones. If you're asking about, like, yardage on every sprinkler head or something like that, we don't have that as part of the project.
One more question coming down.
No? Al Boldy, Unit 36, Lot 54. Can you talk to us a little bit about the practice areas and what maybe some of the plans might be to either enhance it or modify it? A lot of people spend a lot of money on tokens, and we'd like to see anything you might do for it.
Yeah, so there's 2 practice areas at Mountain View. There's 2 at the Preserve too, but at the ones at Mountain View specifically, nothing's going on the north end except the nursery, right? So that's going to pretty much resemble what it looks like right now on the north end of Mountain View. We'll gussy it up some and do some different things, but for the most part, the lay of the land will be the same. On the south end, There's going to be all kinds of stuff done. The biggest will be is there won't be 2 tees anymore. It will be one gigantic tee, one level. This will let us manage it better to keep more grass on it. Second huge thing that's going to happen is there'll be a synthetic turf line at the back of that tee, which gives us the opportunity to, if we get wear patterns, we can move to the synthetic grass for a week, a day, 3 days, whatever we decide is the right amount of days. We're going to remove the trees that are shading it, and there'll be some other cosmetic stuff that goes on there. But for the most part, it's one big tee, synthetic tee line, and some tree removal.
Yeah, we're also looking at doing a little facelift to the building for where the range ball machines are, adding some much better distance markers, and maybe some little different range amenities of sorts, if that makes any sense.
And that's that turf, that synthetic turf, came from our GIF funds, Golf Improvement Funds, and we're looking at some of those with the remainder of our golf improvement funds. Although that fund is defunct, there's still some money left in there, and we want to use that as best as possible.
Yeah, and that synthetic turf line will be really helpful in the winter months. Those of you that play in either the men's association, ladies association, we all know that having to wait for the practice tee to unthaw so that we don't have any frost it takes a while. So if we can get you guys out there, guys and gals, to get out there and hit some practice balls and get loosened up in the cooler weather prior to the frost melting off of the tee, then that's fantastic in my mind.
Everybody's so polite, waiting way back in the wings.
Great presentation, and this is really an exciting time for us golfers here at Mountain View. Thank you so much. I'm Marcy Touche, Unit 24, and I'm a Lady Niner. And I guess my question is about 9-hole tee times, especially with this double tee times at the Preserve. We want to still play golf this summer, and will any of those double tee times be in the morning for 9 holes, or will it just be 18?
Yeah, what I would say is just continue to make your 9-hole requests in the lottery as you have, Marcy.
Mm-hmm.
We're not 100% sure exactly how many players we're going to have. We're going to accommodate everybody that we can. That's the best answer I have for you right now, but there will be, 9-hole players are more than welcome.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
Great presentation, guys. Very informative. Thanks. Question for Paul. Mountain View greens overseeded this year. In the past, not overseeding them has allowed you to get that ugly poana under control. How do you manage that now when you overseed?
It gets easier, actually. So for anyone who doesn't understand the process of overseeding, we actually overseed with POA. It's a version of POA that you overseed your greens with, and that's what everyone uses. So when we transition and we go through the mechanical process of transition, which is verticutting, and then the chemical part of the process, it gives us more of an opportunity to use different chemicals to control the POA. So it actually gets easier overall to do it for the summer months. And in the winter months, we're not worried about it because we're mowing so much and rolling so much as it's overseeded. It's all growing pretty much at the same growth rate, and when we mow it, it's the same. So if you look at Preserve and the POA, you're talking about the POA annual. It's annual bluegrass. Preserve's loaded with it. Right. But that
was my next question.
Yeah, no one mentions it or notices it because we overseed those greens and it all just plays and grows.
But
some of the finest golf courses in the world.
Eventually it affects the putting.
What was that?
Eventually it affects the putting surface.
Not when you can chemically transition it, you get rid of it. See, the problem with the non-overseeded mini verdi is we've always had overseeded collars, and any chemicals you use to kill the POA on the greens is going to kill your overseeded grass in the collar. So it's a dance. Right now we take that dance right off the table because when I want to transition and use chemicals, that part of the process, I'm transitioning everything. So if I wipe out the collar at the same time for the overseed, that's fine, right? We don't have to dance around that. So.
Okay.
Wow, that wasn't painful at all. That worked great. I love when a meeting goes to schedule. So I think that's all we got. I really appreciate everybody coming. So impressive to see what our golf staff does and find out what's going on. Thank you for your interest. That's what makes an HOA strong, is the interest. We don't have to agree, but we have to stay informed. Thank you.